fuck, there's a full-on rap song on Screw It.
Oh, it's a great album. Everyone loves it today. Everyone has high praise for it. Where the
Absolutely.
fuck were you guys in '89?
Hey, listen, if you're watching this thing, do not ever listen to Brandon with Tommy Lee singing.
Weren't they done with cocaine at that point?
They should get almost as much credit as Motley Crue for being the beginning of the glam movement.
And we put it on, and I just wasn't impressed.
Now, I was fine with it because I was fucking 19 years old.
I remember watching the video for Cherokee, and I'm like, oh, if you need anyone to tell the plight of the Native American, it's a Swedish hair band.
Well, obviously, it only went 3 times platinum because it's aged like shit.
Spoiler alert, Mindcrime 2 said it was Dr. X.
Charlie, you're very famous, all right? You're very popular.
The fact that the first album didn't get certified is mind-blowing.
Back in Black, shit, has sold 1 million copies since we started this podcast. Look, I came here to do 2 things, chew bubblegum and talk hair metal, and it looks like I'm almost out of bubblegum. Hey, welcome to the Hair Metal Guru channel. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru, and today, part 2 on hair metal flops. And here's my dog Charlie, who loves the attention that she gets from all our watchers. But part 2 on hair metal flops, we have a special guest, Bryan from the hair band Basement, who I have gotten to know on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. So you've been awesome, man, chatting about music, and I appreciate you sharing my stuff. You run a great channel. Why don't you tell people where they can find you on X and about your channel that you're running?
You got it. Thanks a lot. First of all, thanks for having me on. Love what you did with the place.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm on Twitter, X, whatever the hell they're calling it these days, whatever it's going to change to. I'm at HB Basement, and on Station Head, I got a show where it's the hair band Basement. I play the deepest of tracks, rarest of bands, and the little known songs from the biggest name artists from before, during, and after the decade of decadence. So you hear all this stuff. I figured, it's an app on the station has an app where you can just run your own show. And I've heard so many other heavy metal shows that play the same songs over and over. I don't need to hear Dr. Feelgood pour some sugar on me and wait again and again. So I decided, let me go something deeper, play the songs that it's something for the fans, basically.
Yeah.
Like if you know these albums, you've listened to these songs. It's based like back in the day when you used to hang out in your mom's basement with your friends and listen to a whole album, So yeah, what I've been doing.
Well, hey,
I'm surprised I'm still with it.
So I've checked out your channel a few times at night when I've been sitting around, and what I love is that it's not like I like Hair Nation. I like that they play the music that I like, but it's so repetitive. So when you go to your channel, it's all it's the deep tracks. It's shit. I don't need to hear "Living on a Prayer" again. I don't need to hear "Pour Some Sugar on Me." I want to hear that deep stuff. So you do a great job. So appreciate you.
Thank you. Let me just get it out there. Usually, I air it live every other Friday and every other Saturday, so it alternates every other weekend. And I announce it on X so you can know when it's on then. If not, I record all the shows, go to the app, you can listen to any of the shows I've done. So
that's awesome. And speaking of X, you can find me at Hair Metal Guru, and you can find Charlie usually sniffing my legs. So
hey Charlie.
Yep, Charlie. Yeah, she is quite the wonder on YouTube. So hey, so we're gonna talk about hair metal flops and we're bands that we love, bands that we follow, bands that had some sales, but for one reason or another, the albums that we're going to talk about, sales dipped, albums flopped. And one thing I wanted to clarify is we had a lot of people that disagreed when Metal Mike and I did our last episode, and they said, well, Slave to the Grind from Skid Row can't be a flop because it went double platinum. But the first album sold 5 million copies, and none of the singles that were released from Slave to the Grind were hits. So yes, it did well enough to go double platinum. But I would bet that the band and their record company were disappointed in 2 million. I'm sure they thought it was going to do better than the debut. So that's the reason that I feel like some of these albums and some that we're going to talk about today maybe had some decent sales, but can be considered flops.
Yeah, let me add, if you don't mind, I'm going to add
Please.
something to that.
Please.
Because when I put my list together, I was looking at it, like I said, from the point of the view of the record execs and the band. And if you sold 3 million copies on one album and the next one sold 1 million, I can't see a suit at the record label going, "Oh, that's good. You sold 2 million less."
Yeah,
I just don't see that happening. But also going to add, it's not a knock on these albums. Some of these are great albums. Some of them are my favorite albums.
Absolutely.
Just didn't sell. It's the way it is. It goes by sales. If you look at, what was that one Star Wars movie, Solo? Everyone kept saying it's a bomb. It's a bomb. It made $60 million. Made a profit. I never made $60 million. So, so I take it.
Right. So
but yeah, that's my caveat.
And Slave to the Grind, I said on that episode, is my favorite Skid Row album. But
it's a great album.
So it's a great album.
Yeah. So name the hit off of it. No one can do it.
Right. Exactly.
Debut, 18 in Life, I Remember You, Youth Gone Wild. It is what it is.
Yep. So we're going to get into, we each have 10 albums that we're going to talk about that are flops. And so why don't we just get right into it? And Brian, how about you start us off with your number 10? What do you got?
All right. My number 10 is going to be a controversial one because I mentioned it on X and someone thought, you just got the right album. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. It's a kick-ass album. It's Badlands' Debut. I mean, you have, what's his face? Jakey Lee coming fresh off of Ozzy, so he's got name recognition. Ray Gillen just had a stint with Black Sabbath. He's got name recognition.
Yep.
The rhythm section is solid. It's a great rhythm section. And every track on this album is a killer. I mean, all killer, no filler. It's a great album. Only sold 400,000 copies.
Right.
How? That just blows my mind. And someone said, like I said on X, was like, "Are you sure you don't mean the follow-up, Voodoo Highway?" I'm like, no, nobody bought this thing. And I didn't even certify.
Yep.
So people are like, "Oh, it's a great album. Everyone loves it today. Everyone has high praise for it."
Absolutely.
Where the fuck were you guys in '89?
Yep.
Where was everybody? And I remember buying this thing on cassette at the same time I bought Bullet Boys, which will come up later, their debut album. And I remember, because old school used to go to a record store and talk to the workers there about music and albums, what's coming out, what's new, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the guy talking up Bullet Boys a lot, didn't say a word about Badlands. And looking back at it, I think I like that album better than the Bullet Boys debut, and I love that album.
Sure.
But sales weren't there.
Yep.
I can guarantee a guy in a suit sitting there going, "We got this killer guitarist. He's got name recognition. The songs are great. We didn't even go gold. What the hell?" Like, that one I know people are going to complain about.
Do you think it was the lack of image? I mean, this is still at the time where being pretty and flashy, the makeup was starting to go away. But like they weren't, you didn't look at Badlands and think, wow, the girls are really gonna like to look at these guys.
Well, Ray, they did. The story. They did.
Right.
But the thing is, I want to say by 89, even the glammed out guys that had albums in 86, 87, they're wearing the jeans, the leather jackets, they're riding bikes. So it wasn't like glam, quote unquote, was the big look.
Yep.
That's the one thing about Pretty Boy Floyd's debut album. They still put makeup and teasing their hair. And in 89, that was something.
Yeah.
I don't know so much if it was the image as much as them having a beef with the record company and the record company being like, "Screw these guys."
Right.
I'm sure that's a big part of it too. They only released 2 singles off the album. And it could be part of it, but Tesla was a t-shirt and jeans kind of band, and they were killing it in 89.
Yep.
So
true.
It's just the way it is, It's just the way the rock gods look upon some better than others.
Right.
But it is a great album. It's a fantastic album.
Absolutely.
Just didn't sell.
Yeah. All right. So my number 10 is the band might be controversial. In 1980, maybe my favorite album of all time came out, and that is AC/DC's Back in Black. I worship that album. Now, AC/DC is not hair metal, so somebody's gonna see the thumb and is gonna jump my shit. I don't care. So it's 80s rock. It all works. So
bullshit.
You know, Back in Black, shit, has sold 1 million copies since we started this podcast. So, you know, it's probably over 20 million by now. Then they put out, For Those About to Rock, We Salute You, goes 4 times platinum, and I don't think it's an understatement to say that maybe along with Van Halen, that AC/DC was the biggest band in the world. But then in August of '83, they put out an album called Flick of the Switch. And this thing, for an AC/DC album, just died. It did go platinum. You know, they sell 1 million copies, but after going multiple platinum, going 4 times platinum, Flick of the Switch goes platinum. Now, it's not my favorite AC/DC album. So I can put on almost any AC/DC album and I'm not going to dislike it. So I really like Houses on Fire. I really like Nervous Shakedown. I really like Guns for Hire. But this was an album that kind of the mid 80s and the late 80s were kind of a dry period for AC/DC. You know, they had what was the album with Blow Up Your Video in '89? They were going platinum, but for the band that produced Back in Black, that was a disappointment until they finally in 91 put out the Razor's Edge. Thunderstruck goes nuts, goes 3 or 4 times platinum.
I think
So
that was 90.
maybe it was 90. Maybe it
I
was
think it was 90. Yeah.
So anyway, Flick of the Switch, one of the biggest bands of the world, only goes platinum. Definitely considered a flop.
What was the follow-up to that? Was that Fly on the Wall?
Fly on the Wall.
Yeah, okay.
Fly on the
Yeah,
Wall.
those 2 albums, people really don't talk about.
Yeah.
They're just
then
there kind of
you
thing.
kind of had a little comeback with Who Made Who.
Yeah.
Who Made Who was a hit, and they had all those songs that was on the what was the soundtrack for
Maximum Overdrive, yeah.
You know, which that movie sucked, but I love the Who Made Who.
God.
So
Machines
anyway,
come to life.
AC/DC fan. So anytime I get to talk about AC/DC is a good thing. So, but yeah, that album flopped.
Yeah, I forgot all about that one, to tell you the truth. I'm not a huge AC/DC fan, love them, but I'm not like deep in like you, but I forgot that one even existed.
Sure.
One of my favorite quotes ever from a musician was Angus Young when he said, it was like Hit Parade or one of those magazines, and he said, people blame us for putting out the same album 12 times. Well, they're wrong. It was 13.
Yeah.
Right. But it's AC/DC. It all kicks ass. So it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. All right. What do you got for number 9?
This one's from '94. We mentioned this band just before. It's Tesla's Bust the Nut album.
Okay.
I mean, it's a good album. I'm not going to say it's not, but times are changing. It's 1994. They had some singles. Was Mama's Fool, Need Your Lovin', A Lot to Lose. I mean, songs like Solution and The Gate Invited and Cry, those are kick-ass songs.
Yeah.
But it only sold 500,000.
Right.
Yeah, it went gold, but Psychotic Supper sold twice as much.
Right.
And I'm not sure the number is on the 2 before it, but I mean, that run of 4 albums,
oh yeah,
great stuff. But amazing. Yeah, by '94, Tesla, I even remember auditioning for a band a couple of years after that. Maybe it was '96. And the people, the other 2 in the band were younger than me. They asked, just the bullshitting after you audition. Hey, what are you listening to? I go, oh, song. And like, what'd you listen to on the way over here? I go, Tesla. And they looked at me like, the hell is that? Like, they had no clue. And I'm just like, oh, I can't be in this band. I can't do this.
Right.
No way. You guys don't know music. I'm out.
Right.
But yeah, by '94, nah, it wasn't Tesla's day anymore. But again, they're not like a hair band, quote unquote, thing, t-shirt and jeans, but everyone was wearing flannel in '94. So,
you know, but in my opinion, to go gold in '94 isn't bad. Yeah. I mean, it's still definitely a flop compared to what they did before, but Motley Crue only went gold in '94. So Tesla was, one of those bands that we were like, man, they're still selling some albums, whereas a lot of those bands were really dying. But man, I saw Tesla last year. They're still out there doing it, and still just a phenomenal live band. So
I never saw them. I would love to see them.
Right, yeah, they're great live band. So
I've heard, yeah.
Great choice. Okay, my number 9. So this is a band that I loved and America and the world loved in the mid 80s. I'm talking about Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet in 86. Man, I think now it's at 12 or 13 times platinum.
Something like that, yeah.
I just covered New Jersey in a previous video, went 7 times platinum. But then in 92, they put out Keep the Faith. Now, Keep the Faith went double platinum. It debuted at number 5 on Billboard. Double platinum isn't bad. But like we were saying, I guarantee you that the record company suits were going, that's it? 2 times
Yeah.
platinum. So this is the album where Bon Jovi started to lose me. Okay. And like I don't even recognize, and I get bands, they have to grow and they change. So I understand you can't write Slippery When Wet for the rest of your life. But
No.
but John has always had this Bruce Springsteen thing. He wants to be Bruce Springsteen, and the stuff they're writing now is basically unrecognizable. But so they really started, this is when John cut his hair. And I thought they messed up with the Keep the Faith single. I hate that song. I thought there was a better first single. I Believe is my favorite song on the
That's a
record.
good one.
But the rest, even the songs that I like, In These Arms is really kind of slow. I'll Sleep When I'm Dead is decent. I can see why Bed of Roses became a big hit, though when I listen to it now, I'm kind of embarrassed. So I don't know if I was just growing out of Bon Jovi, but this album really did nothing for me. And, compared to what they were doing before, apparently it did nothing for the rest of the public as well. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not for nothing. Bon Jovi was growing out of Bon Jovi by that point.
yeah.
Like you said, they cut his hair. Even now, he doesn't really acknowledge his hairband days. Like he's just like that never existed. It's like, dude, he sold millions of albums and got millions of girls at that time. Right. You just forget about it.
Right.
But yeah, again, 94. You're right, though. To sell that many albums as Bon Jovi in 1994 is a feat in itself.
This was 92.
92, sorry, 92.
Yeah, no.
But
so
yeah, it's just like, but as a record company, you're hoping it's 12 million every time.
Oh, I mean, at least, you're thinking it's going to get close to New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might have been satisfied with 5, but 2? I mean, that's a huge disappointment. All right, so we just got done with Bon Jovi. What is your number 8?
My number 8, another popular album. It's just didn't live up to what the previous album did. I like it. It's a great album. It's LA Guns' 1991 Hollywood Vampires.
Right.
That thing, I mean, it's a great album. At the time, didn't sell as well. Everyone today says how great it is. Again, where the hell were you all in 91? But songs like It's Over Now is a great ballad.
Yeah.
The other singles, Kiss My Love Goodbye, I like. Some Life for Love. It's a great tune. One of my favorite songs of the album. Right. Over the Edge is a great song used in the movie Point Break. So they had stuff there. Again, 1991 didn't live up to A Cocked and Loaded Soul, Went Gold. This thing didn't even get a certification, which is mind blowing to me because it's such a great album.
Did Cocked and Loaded only go gold?
Yeah, go figure that one out.
More that thing went platinum, but no, I mean, I believe you. I
know. Yeah, it's crazy. But again, think about it. Ballad of Jane was the big song.
Yeah.
I don't think people are going out to buy Rip and Tear, which is a great tune, but you really think about LA Guns.
I thought Rip and Tear, Never Enough, and Ballad of Jane were 3 solid singles.
Yeah,
would have pushed that.
Anyway. I know you would think it went platinum, but I mean, sleaze metal selling a few million. That's a feat in itself. That's a feat in itself. Again, I love LA Guns. The recent album just put out is really good.
Yes.
This one, a lot of people say how great it is, and didn't sell. You can't even find it on streaming now. For some reason, it got taken off streaming.
Right.
Which is annoying as hell. Ugh.
Right.
But
I remember.
Yeah, that's my number 8.
I remember getting that album when it came out, and liking like Some Lie for Love, like you said, there was a solid ballad in there, but I do remember thinking that, hey, it's not quite as good as Cocked and Loaded,
Yeah,
but still, you're like, oh, it's not bad. I still got hope for the future, but they put out a pretty decent album, I thought, called Vicious Circle, and that was about
that's a good one. Yep.
that was
When
pretty.
when you got Hollywood Vampires, did it come with the little 3D glasses so you can see the cover?
I do not think no, not remember.
My cassette had that because
Oh,
they
really?
had the 3D
Really?
image on the front, the band, and you had to put the glasses on to look at the thing.
Right.
Never worked right, but still,
Right.
gimmick shit.
All right.
Uh,
All right, good choice. Good choice. Okay, so my number 8, and I worship Michael Monroe and Hanoi Rocks. You might be able to see there's a huge
mhm.
Monroe poster and there's a huge Hanoi Rocks poster somewhere over there. And the only reason I got into that band is because in around 88 and 89, Guns N' Roses and Skid Row started talking about this band, Hanoi Rocks, that it influenced them so much. And Guns N' Roses record label ended up reissuing the Hanoi Rocks back catalog. Well,
Mhm.
so with all of this talk coming out, in 1989, the lead singer of Hanoi Rocks, Michael Monroe, comes out with the album Not Faking It. So, his old band is getting really popular. He puts out, 1989, the timing is still right. The first single, Dead Jail or Rock and Roll, I think
Mhm.
hair metal fans really like. And guess
Yeah.
what? Fucking Axl Rose was in the video with him. So you're thinking everything is set, but man, that album only got to number 161 on Billboard. Um, there was another fairly solid single in Man with No Eyes. Um, but the album flopped so I have one theory. Like, number one, Michael Monroe was a lot of people would say was very pretty, so he fit in with the very pretty lead singers of the 80s.
Yeah.
But he didn't have like that. He doesn't have a pretty voice. His it's Michael Monroe's voice is an acquired taste, and so I
Good way
think
to put it.
that might be a problem. There wasn't a ballad on this album, or at least not something that was going to get you, into the top 20 of the charts. So, you know, I had high hopes for it. I still really love that album. It flopped, and I was bummed because, man, I love that dude.
Do you think part of the problem is that Hanoi Rocks was looked at as an older band?
Right.
Yeah,
That
that could be.
definitely could be. I
They
was
should have been big.
I was telling Metal Mike the other day that like I didn't get into Scorpions in the 80s because I was like, oh well, they're an old 70s band.
Yes.
Which is kind of stupid because now I fucking love the Scorpions.
Yeah. I remember being a kid, I would see a video on MTV, go out and buy the album, and then if they had a back catalog, I'd buy the whole thing.
Yeah,
Buy some bands, it was like, I'm not going to spend $70 to get all these back albums, so I don't have the money for it. Like the
right,
Scorpions or an Aerosmith or something like that.
right.
It was like, I liked them, but at the time, it was like, I can't swing this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, all right,
Yeah,
what's
it's toy stuff.
your number 7?
My number 7, you actually did a show about this band, Twisted Sister,
Right.
with their follow up to Stay Hungry, Come Out and Play. And I went gold, and it was 53 in the Billboard 200, but the lead singer was leader of the pack. The hell is that?
Yeah.
Like, who thought of that?
Yeah.
Just that's just a terrible move. Be Cruel to Your School didn't get any play on MTV because they deemed it offensive. So
Right.
that was a hit they took. And they kind of played this game where they tried to be more radio friendly, but also tried to stick with their metal roots.
Yeah.
And you can't play it both ways, and it just didn't work for them. It just did not work out. And I think it's what I say. It sold 500,000, but Stay Hungry sold 3 million.
Yeah.
Again, I can't see the record execs and the band sitting down going, well, at least it's 500,000. They're probably like, oh,
Right.
shit, what the hell happened here?
Right.
And then the next album, they weren't even going to do. It was supposed to be a D. Snyder solo project. Brought the band together to do it, and Love for Suckers didn't do it. I don't think it did anything. I
Right.
couldn't even tell you what songs were on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, like you said, one of those bands that had that big, huge album, and then just fell off after that, like Quiet Riot. Just
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I mean, there were three, they just they reminded me of Quiet Riot so much. 2 or 3 hits on that big album, and then everything just went to shit. And
Yeah, it just
wow,
stopped for some reason.
it was such a quick downfall.
Yeah, which is just odd. That's just weird. You would think those bands would carry on into the late '80s, like a Rat. Rat had a big hit around the same time with Round and Round, and they sold, selling millions the last few albums after that, and these two bands just done. I don't know. That was it. Dropped off the face of the earth practically.
Yep.
So I actually met D. Snyder when I was in high
Really?
school. Yeah, I was in a radio broadcasting class. I think I was a senior at the time, and we went to a local radio station, and they're waiting outside to go in. And the guy walks in, long hair. I think my friend even yelled something to him as he was getting out of his eye rock, like nice hair or something like that.
Yeah.
But we saw him walk in as we're in the front, and one of the other students, like, I think that was D. Snyder. Like, get the hell out of here! No way. He walked past us, and we're like, holy shit, it is D. Snyder. So when he came back in, the kid is just like, hey, what's up, D? And he turned around and went, oh man, a whole lot of shit. I got this new band coming out. I think it was Widowmaker at the time.
Yeah, Widowmaker.
And he's talking it up and all this stuff. He's like, I hope you guys check it out. It's really good. Take it easy. Now, it's the only hairband guy I ever met was D. Snyder.
That's crazy.
By chance.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, now we're on to my number 7. And man, this is a band that I think a lot of people will say that this is the type of band that killed hair metal. And in a way, I agree. I can understand it. In 1989, the band Danger Danger comes out with their debut album. And there's a couple hits. Bang Bang is I consider it a hit. I thought Naughty Naughty was kind of a hit. I know one thing so this album didn't certify. I think it got close to gold. And I know that Ted Poley has said that the band wanted to release a ballad.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that would have pushed the album up to platinum. They didn't. They had him go record the follow-up. So anyway, the debut, sells well enough to be able to do another album and has a couple minor hits. And in fact, my son usually watches these. He's 17. He fucking loves, pardon my language. He loves the song Bang Bang. So in 1991, in October, they come out with the follow-up, Screw It. And I'll say, it has some really solid songs.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, October of 1991, you're getting too late. Nevermind was released in September of 91. But still, at that time, we were thinking that hair metal and grunge can exist side by side. So Screw It comes out. But it tried too hard to be everything to everyone. So there's a full-on rap song on Screw It. So I don't know if you've heard, but yeah, you want it. I mean, hold on.
No, I don't.
Hold on. I'm like, no, nobody wants that. Put it away. So there's a full-on rap song. There is the most blatant sex songs. Slipped Her the Big One is one title. And Horny SOB, Horny Son of a Bitch, is another title. And by this time, the record buying public, that's what I think they didn't like about hair metal. Now I was fine with it because I was fucking 19 years old. So I wanted to hear Slipped Her the Big One. But in general, people were done with that type of song. So here's a couple songs I really like. Even Monkey Business is kind of a sexual song, but it's really Crazy Nights was really catchy. And I thought Beat the Bullet was the best rock song on the album. Very legit. And then they had a ballad called I Still Think About You, that if you're into ballads, I thought was one of the better ballads of the hair metal genre. It did get a video. I remember hearing it a couple times on a local rock radio station. Alas, the album sells like shit. I don't even think it went into the top 200. For sure, obviously didn't certify. And Danger Danger has done a lot of things. They put out many albums after this, but that was their last shot at stardom, and it flopped.
I love that album.
Yeah,
I like their first two. I think I like that one better than the debut, and the debut
yeah,
is really good. But you're
agreed.
right. Monkey Business, Slip to the Big One, Horny SOB, Everybody Wants Some. It was
Ever-
always, it's like you have all these songs about getting laid, and then you have a sappy ballad like I Still Think About You. Like,
Yeah,
pick a direction, guys. Come
yeah.
on.
I still
But
think
yeah,
about you
I
after
still
I flipped you the big one.
exactly. Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go. Yeah,
But that I put that up there with the best ballads of the genre. That's a great song. One
totally.
other song I think should have been a hit was Don't Blame It on Love.
Yeah,
That has a commercial sound to it. One of my favorite songs off the album.
yeah,
Something like that in '89 would have been huge.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
But
and I love that. But then the rap song, there's
oh,
one where they're all singing lyrics together. It's like a crowd of people. It's like, did you get paid the space and had to fill out the disc with something? Like, what are you
yes,
doing?
yes.
But that band should have been bigger. And you're right. The fact they didn't release a ballad off that
Off the
debut
first
was
album,
just terrible move. A terrible
horrible.
move.
I mean,
Yeah.
89, that's Skid Row, that's Warrant, that's Dr. Feelgood. I mean,
Yep.
and all of those albums had a ballad that shot them to, over platinum and Danger Danger.
Exactly.
Shit.
What?
I just said on one of my prom theme my senior year was One Step from Paradise from the first Danger Danger album.
Yes.
That would have been a great single.
Yeah.
So
What was their label? What label were they on for that first
I
album?
can't remember.
I don't
There's another
remember.
ballad, Don't Walk Away, that I think would have been.
That was a good one too. Yeah. Either one of those would have worked.
Yeah.
Usually you had bands that would release two more rocking songs than two ballads. I don't understand why they forced them to go back into the studio.
Usually the record label are the ones who are saying we got to release the ballad. And in this case, the record label was like, no, move on to album number 2.
Yeah.
Fuck up. Colossal fuck up.
I don't remember. Yeah, it just makes no sense.
You're number 6.
All right, my number 6, a band I love. They had the first 2 albums were big. The second one was huge. This one came out in '92. This was Extreme's 3 Sides to Every Story.
Yep.
And it's a solid album. I'm not going to say it's not. At the time, I really wasn't as into it as the first 2. But it's a concept album that's split up into 3 different musical styles for each component: Yours, Mine, and The Truth.
Yep.
The first part was, rocking songs like the first 2 albums.
Yep.
Then the second part, the Mine part, was like a lot of experimental stuff, which didn't really, for me at the time, didn't really work. And I don't think it worked for a lot of people. Then again, it's '92, so. And then the third part, was it called The Truth? It had 3 songs. Each song was over 6 minutes long. The last one's like over 8 minutes long. You're not releasing that stuff as ballads.
No.
I'll come to another band that did something like that and it fucked them. But you're not releasing as singles. And it's '92. There's no song like No More Words.
Yeah.
Or Wholehearted. Though I think Tragic Comic is a great ballad and it's better than I like that better than the other 2 songs. But it just didn't catch on. There's a few bands that try this experimental stuff and it just doesn't work, at least commercially. And sadly, that's what happened to those guys. What's that?
Did that come out in '92?
Yeah, I think it sold. Yeah, it sold 500,000.
Yeah.
But Porno Graffiti went double platinum.
Yeah.
Again, what record companies do be like? Oh, that's good. You only sold a fourth of the albums you did before. No one's saying that. And you said the band's not gonna be happy with that.
Yeah.
But again, '92, things are starting to change, and you're not releasing. We're going to release Wholehearted again. Right. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's not going to, and it didn't for them.
A lot of the comments that I've got over the last couple of videos, the flops that I did with Metal Mike, and then I just released one yesterday called The Curse of 1992.
I saw that.
And a lot of the comments, so I try to read all the comments, respond to all the comments, but but Three Sides to Every Story is an album that I've heard a ton in the comments. Man, you got to cover this. So I'm glad you covered it, because honestly, I liked Extreme, but when More Than Words got jammed so fucking far down our throats that I felt I just the band, and regretfully, because it's a great band, but man, I just kind of was like, so I still don't think I've ever bought Three Sides to Every Story, and I for sure didn't buy it when it came out. Though
Yeah, it's not a bad album. It's not a
I
bad
know a
album.
lot
Some
of people
decent
that
songs
love
on
that
it,
album.
but because
Yeah.
I remember, I got the first album that came out in 89. 89 was such a great year for this music.
Oh shit.
So much great stuff came out.
Yeah.
And I got the debut, loved it, and then got the follow-up, Porno Graffiti, and that's just a masterpiece. It's just a great album.
Yep.
But yeah, with More Than Words, I remember them being on a local radio station. I grew up on Long Island.
Yep.
And WBAB had a metal shop on Sunday nights, a metal show hosted by a guy called Fingers.
Yeah.
And he had them on and he played that song, and he was just like, yeah, welcome to Fingers Metal Shop, because it's nothing like you see here. You know, it's this sappy ballad, like someone would
Fingers
play their
Metal
girlfriend
Shop.
on a park or something. Yeah. And I know people that bought that record thinking the whole album was like that.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what is this? This isn't More Than Words. Like, no, it's good. It's way better than, and you're right, it got overplayed.
Yeah.
I saw them open up for Cinderella and David Lee Roth. Unbelievable live band. The only complaint was they're only on for 45 minutes.
Right.
They went off and you're just like, oh, I can go for another hour of this. This is amazing. But really good band. They just released a new album last year.
Rise.
Unbelievable album. Nuno still has it. He's still shredding.
Oh shit. That guy can play, man.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable. But
all right,
I'm going to bring them up again in a later album.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, my number 6. Man, every so I taught for the last 12 years, and I would always play my old music, and try to see if kids knew any of it. And there's one song that, as soon as the keyboard intro played, every kid knew, and that was Europe's The Final Countdown.
Everyone knows that.
Sporting events, it's always played. I coach high school basketball. That song is still played all the time. So which I think is awesome. And man, 1986, that album explodes because of that song. Goes 3 times platinum. There was a couple other hits. I know there was a ballad called Carrie on it that I really didn't like, but it was a big hit.
That was not good.
So you're thinking that the follow-up, and man, a band full of talented players, great singer Joey Tempest. So in August of 88, the follow-up comes up called Out of This World. And the album, it's solid. It has a lot of fans, but it only sold 1 million copies. And to go from 3 million, and Europe is all over the magazines, and one of the biggest songs of the decade, and then to only go platinum is a huge disappointment. So I like this album. In fact, I like Europe. I'm not a huge Europe fan. Superstitious was kind of a hit on that album, even though I think it's kind of cheesy. They had a decent ballad with Open Your Heart. There's a song on Coast to Coast that sounds like they were trying to rewrite We Are the World, and it comes off fucking cheesy. So there are some solid rock songs, but there's so much keyboard, and I have to think that because of The Final Countdown, that keyboard intro was everything to that song. There's so much keyboard that so I was listening to this album today, and I was like, is this fucking Deep Purple? The keyboards all.
Nothing wrong with Deep Purple.
What's that?
There's nothing wrong with Deep Purple.
There's nothing wrong with Deep Purple, but I'm not expecting that to hear that from a mid-80s album. So
he's not John Lord either, whoever the hell it is.
Right,
his name.
Right, John Lord. So decent album, goes platinum, but compared to the previous one, it's a flop.
Yeah, and I had this on my list, but I'm not. See, I wasn't big into Europe at the time, and I don't think even had Final Countdown at the time. I remember watching the video for Cherokee, and I'm like, oh, if you need anyone to tell the plight of the Native American, it's a Swedish hair band that's going to do that, right? Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I never really got into them. But recently a lot of people talk about Out of This World, how great it is. It's such a fantastic album. And I listened to it a few times and it went off streaming, so you really can't listen to it now. But I don't have a copy of it. But yeah, I wasn't familiar enough with it to really go make a deep dive over it.
Sure.
But yeah, a lot of people say how good and solid that album is.
Yeah.
Again, who knows? I have a feeling that the keyboardist was like, I want to be on more of these songs. Like, no, dude, you understand, motherfucker? I wrote Final Countdown opening. That made us millions. Put me on more goddamn songs.
Right.
Right. Or I'm leaving. They're like, oh shit. Me too.
Okay, shit. Play whatever you want. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it. All right.
Yeah.
Never stuck with them.
Yeah. All right. Oh, you're on number 5.
My number 5. This is the one I actually replaced with Europe, and this is Faster Pussycat with their album Whip from 1991.
Right.
It's one of my favorite albums by them, if not my favorite. It's got so many good songs on it. Nonstop to Nowhere, The Body Thief, Jack the Bastard, Madame Ruby's Love Boutique, the ballads Friends and Mr. Love Dog could have been big. Didn't match up to Wake Me When It's Over. That Wake Me When It's Over sold 500,000.
Yeah.
Because of the House of Pain song.
Yeah.
But this one wasn't even certified.
No.
And it's such a solid album. I always liked Faster Pussycat since day one.
Yeah.
And this album, they really, it still has that sleaze side to it, but they've matured.
Yeah.
You know, being around for at that time, when the first one came out, 86, or 5 years of experience with them. Solid album. It didn't have the ballad that pushed them through. And again, 91, no one's going to buy the follow-up to Wake Me When It's Over, except suckers like us that love this shit, you know? But
I
it's a good album. Didn't cut it.
I loved Nonstop to Nowhere. Man, I thought that was like, holy shit. And I was like, here's a song that shows growth, shows maturity. I mean, the lyric, but it was so catchy. I'm like, damn, this is where I want music to go. I did like some other, like I liked Jack the Bastard, and I was an English major, so who didn't like Big Dictionary?
Yeah. What's the other one? Loose Booty. It's kind of like a rap song. It's just
like Faster Pussycat and Danger got together to write songs.
Yeah, but the same year. Why not?
Yeah. So, but I will admit, and I told you this on X, like outside of a few songs, a lot of that album just kind of left me dry, and you know, so I loved the first single and had high hopes for it, but you know, after that I was kind of like, okay, like they need to put out, man, and that was the end of the band. I mean, like they did nothing, you know.
I think Tammy Down did some stuff that was more like house music or club music or something, and took some of these songs like the Faster Pussycat and put crappy dance beats to them. It's like, what are you doing? No one's gonna dance to you know, Babbling On because you put a dancey sound to it.
And I will say, regarding Faster Pussycat, I did an episode on the top hair metal ballads, and I think that House of Pain is one of my favorite ballads of all time. And you know, I mean, it was such a different topic for hair metal bands. So
it was.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My number 5, and Charlie is sitting right here, and I think you love Motley Crue. Okay. So I did a video with Metal Mike on flops and talked about the 1994 album with John Corabi. Charlie, you're very famous. All right, you're very popular. There.
You should do a show with just a dog on for an hour.
You know, I actually have had like a lot of views on my last couple of videos, and I think a lot of people are just thinking it's Charlie and not me, which is probably right.
He's your co-host.
So anyway, I love the 1994 Motley Crue album with John Corabi. It only went gold, so I called it a flop, and rightfully so. I mean, right before that, you had Dr. Feelgood in 89 that went 6 times platinum. Obviously, 1994 was going to be a shit year for a hair metal band. But most people laid the blame at John Corabi, and they said, "Hey, you get Vince Neil back in the band and Motley Crue." Charlie, you're very pretty, you're very nice, you're very famous. Okay, but please go sit down. Okay, all right, just sit right there. So the 94 album bombs, they get Vince back, and we're like, okay, here we go. The last album with Vince Neil was Dr. Feelgood. Hey, I fucking loved I thought the Exposed album was great. I
agree.
Carved in Stone because that thing's a piece of shit. But so we're ready for Generation Swine. And I'll be honest, that album is shit. I do like Afraid. The first single I thought was decent. It was very different, but I thought, hey, I don't mind. But the rest of it, there was industrial shit. There was for shit's sake. Hey, listen, if you're watching this thing, do not ever listen to Brandon with Tommy Lee singing, because that thing is a lyrical shit show. Okay.
That's the one about his kid, right?
Oh, yes. And he's like, your mother made you with love inside. You're my baby, Brandon.
You
oh my
cornball.
Okay. Tommy.
I love my son and all. I'm not gonna.
Oh, totally.
If I wrote a crappy song to him, he'd have every right to leave the house and never come back.
Song is a shit show. So anyway, Tommy Lee's a great drummer, but just leave the lyric writing and the singing to somebody else. So
weren't they done with cocaine at that point?
What's that?
Weren't they done with cocaine at that point? They can't use that.
Yeah, but meth was coming in. Meth was coming in big.
All right.
Sure, it was a meth song. So it comes out in 97. It goes to number 4 on Billboard. It goes gold. But in my opinion, every Crue album that they released since the 94 album has basically sucked balls, and Generation Nine is I mean, it's definitely a flop, but also as a huge Motley Crue fan, it was just a fucking disappointment that that's what they did.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't name one song off that album.
Yeah.
No idea.
Right.
I loved Crue when I was in high school, but after Dr. Feelgood, they kind of fell off to me.
Right.
And I was in college when the self-titled album came out, and I didn't get what was the one before it? It was some compilation albums. Like, I got these
Decade
songs.
of Decadence.
Yes, Decade of Decadence. And it was like, why would I buy a best of when I already got the albums? And yeah, and like you said, after it started with Generation Swine. After that, it's just like, nah, it's not what it was.
No,
it's not. Yeah,
no.
And that song with him Tommy Lee singing on it. Yeah, it does.
Somebody just mentioned that the other day, and I'm like, I got to go. Somebody said on Twitter that it was a song that you love to hate, and I'm like, no, I fucking hate that song. There's no love about it, because I had to go check out the lyrics again, because I'm like, I know there's some goofy shit about making a baby with love in your mom's belly. I'm like,
by love, you mean placenta? Like you're talking about? Who's that? Oh, it's like a teen mom wrote that song.
Yeah.
So stupid.
No. All right. We're on to your number 4.
All right. This one, I think I might get shit for this one too, but it's Queensryche's Promised Land from 1994.
Okay.
I mean, the single I, it sounds like it could have been off Empire. Okay. But then a lot of other songs are, again, the experimental thing. Let's try something different. I know Jeff Tate played saxophone on a couple of the songs. Was it DeGarmo was playing piano? Like what the hell is this? I remember I didn't get the album. A friend of mine, who's also a drummer in a few of my bands, got it, and we put it on, and I just wasn't impressed. I couldn't. I listened to it for this show again.
Yep.
I couldn't name any of those songs. None of them really stuck out to me. And this is coming off of Empire that sold 3 million. Shockingly, this thing sold 1 million copies and was the highest charting. It was the highest charting album by Queensryche in '94. And it's like, what? This? And the company, the previous two, Empire and Operation Mindcrime, unbelievable albums. Rage for Order, unbelievable album. The debut I thought was pretty good. I would rank it up to the same. And then this, and it was like, it was a meh album. That's how I feel. I'm sure some people out there in the cyberspace gonna be like, no, fuck you. It's a good album. Blah blah. You just don't get it. All right, I don't get it. Whatever. It didn't look at the numbers. It sold a third of the album before it. Again, record exec with a stupid suit at his desk is gonna go, oh, that's good. You sold less albums this time. Nope.
Yep.
And also, but again, 1,000,094 by Queensryche. I mean, that is pretty impressive. But
but a flop nonetheless.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah,
Queensryche is one of those bands that I never got into. I never, I don't know if it's Jeff Tate's voice that kind of like he's got an awesome voice, but I kind of like grittier singers.
Okay, yeah.
Like a really kind of a pretty almost operatic voice. Anyway, there are some songs I liked. My roommate in college and my first year of college was the year Empire came out, so he played the shit out of Empire, and I probably got sick of it. But anyway,
yeah, same with me. I was a freshman in college when Empire came out. I knew of Queensryche before that, but that's when I started getting into them. And I still remember hanging out with friends, listening to Operation Mindcrime, and discussing theories on who killed Sister Mary. Just for hours talking about it. Spoiler alert: Mindcrime 2 said it was Dr. X, so that ruined the whole theory discussion. But yeah, this one just didn't do it for me. Just didn't catch on. Apparently, most people, 2/3 of the people didn't catch on with them either.
Right.
But that's my number 4.
Okay. All right. My number 4. So I actually did a video dedicated to this band a couple weeks ago. In 1988, Britny Fox comes out of the gate on Girls' School. And even though, I think that was the only big hit from that album is chock full of catchy fucking rock. And I was shocked when I did research for that video that the debut album did not go platinum. It did.
I don't think it went gold. Did it go gold?
You know what? I think you're right.
I don't think it did.
I don't think it went gold either. It had to have sold. I mean, if it didn't go gold, it had to have gotten close. Because man, everybody I knew had that album. So, so they come out in 1989, like we were just saying, unfucking believable year for rock and hair metal. Come out with the follow-up. Boys in Heat. Now, just saying that title makes me go, geez. And
cover's worse.
And I'll put the cover in the video.
Sucks.
The cover sucks. What the fuck were you thinking, you guys? But this is a great album. There is a ton. In Motion is the first song on the album. Try sitting still when In Motion is on. They did a great cover of Hair of the Dog. I know there was talk of making that a single. The band breaks up before it even gets that far. The song Dream On did get a video. Phenomenal mid-tempo acoustic rock song. And then Angel in My Heart was a great song. And Long Way From Home and then Long Road was a decent ballad. So, I mean, to me, there's 7 or 8 great songs on that album. They were getting ready to tour. Apparently, Michael Kelly Smith and Dizzy Dean Davidson get into a fight. The band up, the tour gets called off, and I actually know a lot of that because Stevie Rochelle from Metal Sludge, his band Tough, was getting ready to go on that tour when it ended because of this fight. So anyway, the album dies. The band goes on. Hey, they recruit a guy named Tommy Paris for an album in 1991 called Bite Down Hard. I fucking love that album. That is my favorite Britny Fox album. But I also love Boys in Heat. But after the debut did so well, Boys in Heat flopped.
Yeah, I almost put that on my list, and I was like, nah, Guru's got this one. There's no way it's not on the list. But at the time, first of all, the fact that the first album didn't get certified is mind-blowing.
Jeez,
and I remember getting this Boys in Heat. Even saying the name makes me cringe. But when it came out, I was like, oh, cool, follow. And it didn't latch on to me like the first one. And
Right.
then, years go by, and I want to say in the last few years, started listening to that and Bite Down Hard, which,
Yep.
yeah, that's a great album. That
Shit.
is a great freaking album. And yeah, though I would say both those albums should have been bigger.
Yes,
Definitely should have been bigger.
totally.
And like you said, 1989 was a huge year for music. Like on my station head show, every end of the month, I have like a theme based show.
Yep.
And a few months ago, I did songs from 1989, and I was running out of time to fit it all in. It's just so many
Right.
You had bands that were already established putting out great albums. You had a lot of debut albums coming out. I think that was the peak of this music.
Yeah.
Where it was just like they were throwing this like shotgun blast, shoot and
Yep.
see what sticks.
Yep.
And there were so many great bands that came out. I just did a couple weeks ago a show for the year 1990. Even then, a lot of stuff was still coming out. It was still just that carrying over from the previous big year.
Yep.
Yeah, but then 91, 92, and then by 93, it was just
Absolutely.
But yeah, that is a great album that should have been bigger.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep. All right. You're number 3.
All right, my number 3. I love their debut. This is the follow-up. This is Bullet Boys 1991 with Freak Show. And I think it's a solid album. I remember getting it in 91, playing it over and over and over. Now it's not as good as the debut, not even close. But a lot of people would say that the songs just weren't as good as that first one. They didn't have that same attitude. It takes a lifetime to write the first album and then pressure to write the second one.
Yep.
I think taking 3 years to put it together kind of hurt them. But I mean, what was their first single? THC Groove, Hang On St. Christopher, the Tom Waits cover, which I think was good.
I love that song.
Talk to Your Daughter was I like that one. Songs like You're Ripping Me, Say Your Prayers, and Oh Me, Oh My, I think those are solid songs. And they have the same tone as the first album. But it didn't even certify. While the debut, I think, sold 500,000.
Yeah.
Which even that's shocking. I thought that sold more. But yeah, again, this didn't catch on. And when the debut came out, everyone's like, this is the next Van Halen.
Yep.
Templeton is producing it. They're going to be the big thing.
Yep.
First one came out. All right, 500,000, pretty good for a debut. And then fizzled. By the third album, Zaza, no one cared. No one even talks about it anymore after that. They had their own internal problems and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Long issues and all this kind of stuff. But
it sounds like and I don't want to take sides, but it sounds like a lot of people end up having problems with Mark Turenne.
I remember him saying 10 years ago, maybe a little more. I think he was on Eddie Trunk's show. He said he used to get a lot of shit because he's Puerto Rican.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he would say, not many Hispanics are in metal or rock like this. He would get crap for it, like just racist nonsense.
Right.
I don't know if that was part of it. I have no idea. I don't know if he's a dick. Maybe he is. I have no idea.
Right.
But yeah, they tried to get together a few times and just it fell apart as they on.
Yeah.
So I think they're together. I don't know if they're all together though. I don't know if it's the original lineup.
No, I think it's recently they almost. And I think they had a show planned and everything. And right before the show happened, some shit came up. And Mark, I think, ended up playing like a solo show or whatever it was. So I know
Quick, give me 3 musicians. I want to make some money.
On my number 3. So I've already talked about this band when I talked about Michael Monroe's what the hell is that album called? Not Faking It album. So I worship Hanoi Rocks. And so here's why I worship Hanoi Rocks is, to me, they should get almost as much credit as Motley Crue for being the beginning of the glam movement. I mean,
agree with that.
Puts out Too Fast for Love in 1981. And rightfully so, most people say that's where it started. Well, overseas, that shit was going on with Hanoi Rocks right about at the same time. They put out like 5 or 6 albums that are all phenomenal. Anyway, they're big overseas, but nothing over in America. Well, in 1984, they finally get their big chance. They get an American record deal. They get Bob Ezrin as producer. They record the album Two Steps from the Move. It comes out in August of 1984. Their first single, Up Around the Bend, the CCR cover, is getting a lot of play on MTV. Now, personally, I didn't think they should have done the cover. I thought they should have done the song Boulevard of Broken Dreams. But anyway, it's probably considered a minor hit, but everyone knows the story. December 8th, 1984. There's a party. Razzle, the drummer, goes out to get some beer with Vince Neil, get in a car crash. Razzle dies. Hanoi Rocks tries to finish a tour. They do some dates in 1985, but everybody says that they can't continue the band without Razzle. So Two Steps from the Move dies, the band dies, and it's not 4 years later until Michael Monroe comes out with an album. But I think Hanoi Rocks, they're almost kind of a mythical band, with all that shit, but they never had a hit over in America, and it's unfortunate because Two Steps from the Move is a great album.
Yeah. I never really got big into Hanoi Rocks. I do remember Boulevard of Broken Dreams, the video being played on Headbangers Ball.
Yep.
And you can see the start of glam, the way they were dressed, the way the hair was, all that stuff.
Totally.
But yeah, once Razzle died, I mean, that was the end. It's just, I can't see being in a band where someone I've been close to is dead and then going on after that.
Right.
That can't be easy to do. That just can't be easy to do.
Right.
But exactly. I don't know if, did you watch The Dirt, the Netflix Motley Crue? How they shoehorned Razzle in there, like all of a sudden they're at a club and it's like, "Oi, I'm Razzle," and it was like, "What the hell?" I think they knew each other better than that.
Right?
Like that.
Yeah.
It's like a little
exactly.
Just put it in there just to get the car crash in. And it's
exactly.
The thing that gets me is Vince served no time for that.
A month.
No, wasn't it community service?
Well, I thought it was a month, but I could be wrong. But whatever he served, it was a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And then I think he did some like commercial, like
that was part of it. That was part of it. Yeah.
That was part of it.
Yeah, okay. Don't drink and drive. You might wreck your expensive car and kill your friend.
You might kill your
band.
Kill a drummer. Okay, so we just finished up with Hanoi Rocks. What's your number 2, Bryan?
All right, my number 2. I love this album, love this band, and this was a bomb. But it's Blue Murder's self-titled debut from 1989. A fantastic album. You have John Sykes from Whitesnake. You got Tony Franklin from The Firm.
Yep.
You got was it Carmine? I think he goes by a piece, and his brother goes Appice. They have 2 different pronunciations. But Vanilla Fudge, Rod Stewart, King Cobra, he was with everything. So you got this killer lineup, super group.
Yeah.
And the album doesn't do anything. It barely does anything. Only sold 150,000, which is just mind-blowing to me.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh my
It's just I think part of the problem is the lead single was Valley of the Kings, and it clocks in at 7 minutes and 51 seconds.
Right.
What dumbass at the record company said, let's have an 8-minute song be the lead single? I think the guy that's worse, and I think the guy that's worse is the executive above him that went, it's a good idea, let's go with that.
Yeah.
It's just insane. And the band even said they didn't want to do that. They thought Jelly Roll should have been the lead single, which eventually was the second one. And the record company was like, we want to start Buzz with the first single, and then we'll release Jelly Roll. Kind of a minor hit, Jelly Roll, but MTV was like, we're not going to play that song because no one's talking about this band. No one cares. The first song bombed. Why should we bother?
Right.
I mean, but the album is just great. Oh my God. Riot, Jelly Roll and Valley of the Kings are good songs. Ptolemy is a killer song. Billy is a great song. All killer songs on this album, and it didn't do anything. And what's his face? John Sykes was devastated by these sales. He thought this was going to be bigger, and he feels that the record company not only messed things up, but was trying to get him and Coverdale to make another Whitesnake album.
Right.
And he was like, nah, I'm not going to work with that guy. The wounds are too deep right now. No. But I mean, I remember getting that when it came out in 89. Still have the cassette somewhere. And just being like, this is awesome. My God, it's not. And people are expecting, even myself included, another Whitesnake type album.
Oh yeah.
No, this thing was just heavy and ballsy and just great.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Tony Franklin plays a fretless bass on most of the album. And that was the first time I ever really heard a fretless bass in songs. And today I have 2 fretless basses just because of that. Just because
really?
of that album. That
Wow.
actually yesterday was Tony Franklin's birthday.
Yeah.
I told him numerous times that album made me go out and get fretless basses. He was like, that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, Sykes was just devastated. And the next album didn't even come out for the 4 years after that. I mean, 4-year gap between albums, that's Def Leppard territory there.
Yeah.
That's too much time. But yeah, that album should have been bigger. Again, people on social media love the album. Where were you all in '89 buying this thing?
You know who fucked everything up is David Coverdale, because number one, he fired Sykes right when they wrote, and John wrote a ton of it, the best record of his career, doesn't let him tour that album, doesn't even get in the fucking videos. So then John goes up. Well, then the next Whitesnake album was Slip of the Tongue, was just in our last episode of Flops, because it went from 7 or 8 million to 1 million. So he fucked by that decision. Well, then John Sykes puts together a phenomenal band, puts together this amazing fucking album, and that band gets fucked. I mean, Jesus, yeah, and it pisses me off because Sykes, since that '93 album, you don't hear shit from him.
No, yes, he was with. He toured with like a remake of Thin Lizzy for a while.
Yep.
And he did put out a live album that had Thin Lizzy, Blue Murder, and Whitesnake songs out, which is really good. Yeah. His the version of Cold Sweat on that album is awesome. Right. But yeah, he's left the music. He Vito Brato'd the music industry and walked away from it. Through this. I'm not doing it.
That's such a.
But yeah, the thing with Whitesnake is that when it started, it was like this cool blues-based rock band. He was Coverdale was fresh out of Deep Purple. Yep. They were a band, but then by '84, it became more of a David Coverdale solo project thing, and he kept switching guys out. Yep. And you talk to the other musicians in old school Whitesnake, they were like, "Yeah, by '84, we weren't a band anymore. Right? They didn't even know what was going on half the time, and they almost broke up before Coverdale was almost done before the self-titled album in '87. Yeah, which he should be kissing Sykes's ass for that album, because he wrote that album basically. Yes, it sounds the way it sounds because of Sykes' tone and guitar playing. That simple.
Absolutely.
And that's my number 2, Blue Murder. Great album, didn't sell.
Yep. All right, my number 2, and this is where I know everybody's going to get pissed, and I don't care. So
that's what we love here, right?
Yeah. So Def Leppard, Hysteria and Pyromania. Def Leppard, I think, is the only rock band that had 2 albums in the '80s that went diamond, over 10 million in sales. Pyromania and Hysteria both go diamond. But then Steve Clark dies in 1991. Then grunge comes just in time for their follow-up to Hysteria with Adrenalize. So Adrenalize comes out in March of '92. Hey, it debuts at #1 on Billboard. It goes 3 times platinum. People are going to be like, hey, how the hell can you say a 3 times platinum album is a flop? Look, I know 3 times is awesome for anybody, but to go from 12 to 3 is a huge fucking letdown. So here's how I think I can make it make sense for some people. Hysteria took forever to record. Now, they spent so much money that, at least from what I've read, they needed to sell 5 million copies.
I've heard that too.
To make money on Hysteria. Well, they did, and then some. They went like 12 times platinum. So that is why 3 times platinum can be a letdown, especially when you're coming off Hysteria. So now when I listen to it now, getting ready for this, to me, it's like, well, obviously it only went 3 times platinum because it's aged like shit. Like there's two songs that I like now. Tear It Down, I think is phenomenal.
That's a
And
good one.
White Lightning is very good. It's a tribute to Steve Clark.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I love the lyrical content. Now, back in the day, I think I liked Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? Back in the day, I probably liked Do You Want to Get Rocked? But that's another thing that when I hear it right now, I'm like, oh, geez. Like, is
A
anybody
fucking corny piece of garbage, that song. Oh,
did anybody
God.
see me when I was listening to that? Because hold on.
Oh.
So it's in, and then you add Heaven Is and Stand Up, Kick Love into Motion. I mean, god dang it. So only went 3 times platinum. Now obviously, Def Leppard um is still one of the biggest touring bands in the world.
Yeah.
I'm sure that that's the last album they had to go platinum. So yes, you can be a flop and sell 3 million copies, and that's what Adrenalize is.
Yeah, I always looked at it like they tried to do Hysteria 2.
Of
And
course.
I'm going to get shit from out to say right now. A few months back, I listened to Hysteria, and half that album I skipped.
Yeah.
Some of those songs, Love Bites sucks.
Oh,
I'm gonna
one of the
say it
worst
right now.
ballads
That
of the
song
genre.
sucks. The longer songs like Rocket, Women, and God of War, I skipped those. I just couldn't. What's the one? Rocket. The bass line sounds like
Yeah.
Pac-Man or like Space Invaders. It's droning. It's long. But when you covered the album, I think you covered it had like stuff like Don't Shoot Shotgun. There's a few good songs on it. I think Animal is one of my favorite Def Leppard
Yeah.
songs. I think it's a great song.
Yep.
But Pour Some Sugar on Me, I can't listen to anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of the singles I really can't
Yeah.
listen to. But I remember when Adrenalize came out in 91, it was my second year in college. And I was like, oh, the new debut video from Def
Totally.
Leppard. And at the time, I remember when Hysteria came out, Def Leppard said, it's a 4-year wait. We will never do that to our fans again. Well, they kept their promise and had 5 years between that two albums.
Right.
But when Let's Get Rock came on the screen, me and my friends are like, what the hell is this garbage? This is terrible.
Yeah.
Just even that, again, they tried to redo Hysteria and it just didn't, to me, it just didn't work.
Okay, we're on to number one.
All right.
Your last one.
My number one is probably the only album on my list I think sucks. Like, this album just eats ass and it's crap, and it's from my favorite band of all time. It's Van Halen with Van Halen 3 from 1998. Oh God. I can understand why they asked Gary Sharon to be in the band. Sure. Extreme was pretty much an updated version of Van Halen. You got your shredding guitar, solid rhythm, killer background vocals, eccentric, frontman has, in this case, he had a decent voice, unlike David Lee Roth.
Right.
But it just didn't click. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, Eddie Van Halen was taking more control of the band.
Yeah.
Michael Anthony only played bass on 3 of the songs. Eddie filled in the rest of the bass. I think he played drums on a few songs.
Right.
And they brought Gary Sharon in to write lyrics as a more mature writer. It just didn't work. And what were the singles in this one? Without You, The One I Want, Fire in the Hole, Dirty Water Dog. It just didn't click. Yeah. And then there's the freaking dreadful song that Eddie sings, How Many Say I. Oh, God, is that bad. That is like Tommy Lee singing bad. It's just horrible. I was in the kitchen. Alexa was, playing music songs on shuffle, and that one came up. For a split second, I'm like, this is like a bad Pink Floyd song. Oh my God, it's the song Eddie sings on.
Alexa,
and
skip.
My son, what's that?
Alexa, skip.
Yeah, and my son, who's 8, was like, Daddy, what is this? And my answer was terrible.
Yeah.
The answer was terrible. It is. And I was trying to listen to it today to prepare for this show, and I was like, I can't do this. I listened like half a song here, skip, half of this skip. I just couldn't do it. And it sounds like a subpar extreme album that Eddie Van Halen happened to guest on guitar.
Right.
Because Eddie's Eddie. The guy's gonna, guy can play. We all know this. But it just did not work. It just didn't work. They were gonna make another album with Gary Cherone too, and the sales were so bad they were like, "Nope, we're done with this." I think it sold 500,000.
Oh, really?
This thing sold 500,000.
Yeah,
it sucks. Who's buying that?
yeah.
I never bought it. I never bought it at the time.
Shit, no.
And I happened to listen to it on streaming. That's where I got it from. And it's just like, if a song comes up, skip this. I can't do this to myself. I want to remember the good stuff of Van Halen. And they didn't put out another album until Different Kind of Truth. 14 years later. And that's a good album. That's a solid album.
Yeah.
But you can't get that on streaming now because I think David Lee Roth didn't like his voice on it.
Yep.
But yet you got the live album from a few years ago where Dave sounds like crap singing, but that's streaming. Go figure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number one. My favorite band. Easily their worst album. That's the only album. It needed that album to take Diver Down out as their worst album.
Right. When Without You first came out, I was like, it's not bad. I mean,
yeah.
Like when it got to the chorus, I was like, that's kind of catchy. But the rest of it was shit. And this is one of those albums. I have a few albums. Another one is Subhuman Race. Every year, I probably once or twice pull out fucking Van Halen 3 and Subhuman Race, and I'm like, God dang it, there's got to be something that I like on here. So I'm gonna play this again, and then I get about halfway through, and I'm like, oh my fuck, just stop it, right?
That's my number one. Terrible on all levels, sales, sound, everything.
Right. Okay, so my number one. I told Metal Mike this the other day. I said I don't know if Kiss is musically my favorite band, but there's also, I've never loved a band as much as I love Kiss, if that makes sense. So when he's like, no, what the fuck did you just say?
I don't know what that means. You got to elaborate,
sir. So, yeah. I mean, there might be bands that I like their albums more, but I just worship the whole idea of Kiss.
Overall,
when I
get that.
first got into Kiss, like I remember watching, I was 6 years old when the movie came out. So I grew up thinking they were superheroes. So that's
when they fought the Phantom of the Park, that one.
So that's what I mean. That I buy worthless Kiss shit all the time. My house is full of shit that I'll never use. And so I do love Kiss's music. But like, for instance, I don't have nearly as much AC/DC shit as I do Kiss, but I probably like AC/DC's music more than Kiss. Anyway, so I loved the 1992 album Revenge. I've talked about it on this channel numerous times, but it was probably considered a flop. It only went gold. So Kiss did the next logical thing. They got back together with the original band and they put the makeup back on. And that happened in 96. And I shit you not, I get goosebumps thinking about it right now. They exploded into the biggest band in the world again. They sold out Tiger Stadium in 43 minutes for their first concert. That whole tour was sold out. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody went to it. So when we heard that they were going to get back to do an album with the original band, I mean, I know that I and my other buddies that were Kiss fans, we were like, this is fucking it. This is where Kiss, album-wise, is going to be like Kiss Destroyer, Kiss Love Gun. They're going to take their place at the top of the charts again. So, September 22nd, 1998, here comes Psycho Circus. It goes to number 3 on Billboard. It goes gold. But gold, and I know it's 1998, but we just thought with all the goodwill and all the press and all the exposure, they were on every fucking magazine cover. They were on TV and news about how crazy the reunion tour was. Gold. So I loved the opening single, the title track, Psycho Circus. I thought it was phenomenal. I'm like, this is the greatest concert opener ever. And there are other songs that I really like. I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll. I like Aces Into the Void. Raise Your Glasses is a little cheesy, but you can imagine that playing at every sporting event in history. And I really loved the song You Wanted the Best because each of the band members gets a verse and they talk about how they fight and all this stuff, but in the end they come back and do it for the fans. So um I I did a video on Kiss albums from 97 to 2008 or whatever their last album was, months.
I
And
saw
I
that.
did, and I thought Psycho Circus, it's a very good album. It's not amazing, but I'm just shocked that it only went gold, that it didn't at least get to platinum. So our expectations for Kiss, at least on albums, uh, went to shit because Psycho Circus flopped.
Yeah, I mean, and I get it. Yeah, it's 1998, but it's Kiss.
Kiss.
Didn't they put the makeup back on for that one too? Wasn't that? Yeah.
But we found out later that Ace and Peter barely played on it.
I know.
So there was a lot
Yeah.
of controversy about that. So anyway, take that for what you will. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's true too. Because I think I saw them. When was their first farewell tour? Was that 2000, 98, 2000?
2000.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
saw them then, and that was the first time I saw them with the
Farewell
makeup.
tour would you like to talk about?
I did that one.
It's been about
24, 25 years ago. Yeah. And I remember being like, because my first concert was Kiss during the Hot in the Shade tour. I think you saw the same tour.
Same.
I saw them with Little Caesar and Slaughter. They were the special guests. And great show. I mean, I did a show with Metal Mike about our top 10 concerts. That was on the list. It was my first concert.
Yep.
But then I saw them. I can't remember. It was I want to say it's around 2000 maybe when I saw them the farewell tour, and it was like, all right, this is Kiss the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
First half of the show was like, oh, this is mind blowing. And then went back to the old, all right, we're gonna have a guitar solo for 15 minutes and then a drum solo, and you're like, oh, you guys aren't doing drugs like it's 78 anymore. You can play like 4 more songs.
Yeah.
And then after that, it dropped off. You can tell it was a chain. It was like, ah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I at that point in 98, I guess 98 was a cursed year for established bands when Van Halen 3 came out.
Right.
But yeah, you would think Kiss is back, the makeup's on, the original lineup, people are gonna buy it, and yeah, they didn't. They just didn't.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, great talking about hair metal, and not only hair metal, but rock and roll flops from some amazing bands. I'm looking forward to going and checking out some of your picks. I appreciate you being on.
I'm honored to be here. Totally appreciate you asking me to do this, even though it is sloppy seconds. But couple of things where I go. First of all, check out my radio show on Station Head. It's on every other. It alternates from Friday and Saturdays. If you can't catch it live, listen to the recorded shows. I recorded all of them. I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter, HB Basement, constantly talking music there. And I want to thank you for your service, because I know you were in the military for a few decades. And keep doing what you're doing. I love the show. Great content, great stuff. And again, thanks a lot for having me on.
Yeah. Hey, it's been a pleasure and awesome chatting with you on X. Please go follow Bryan's X account, HB Basement. Check out his show on Station. And thank you. Station Head on Station Head.
Yeah.
Thank you for visiting the Hair Metal Guru YouTube site, and please check me out on X at Hair Metal Guru. Until next week when we come back with another episode, take care.